How's it going, YouTube? It's your boy Ron, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Pikmin 2. In the last episode, we begun proper exploration of the Valley of Repose. We did discover a new thing that we'll be seeing throughout the entirety of Pikmin 2, and that is caves. Those are going to be housing a lot of treasures and a lot of unique enemies. And we discovered a new type, the Purple Pikmin. They're going to be helpful in our journey throughout the entire time we're in here in the planet gathering treasure. And in today's episode, since we did unlock the Awakening Wood, that is where we're going to be going ahead and starting a new exploration day here. So one thing I will say about a lot of the landmarks in Pikmin 2 is that they do share a lot of resemblances to the original Pikmin. Of course, they're not all going to be identical, but they do share a lot of similar layouts, and they do kind of show some kind of evolvement from at least the time period from when Pikmin 1 to Pikmin 2 had happened. So we'll be seeing a lot of similarities for those who have played, and for those who have seen my Let's Play of the original, you might notice some familiar sightings. Good morning. It should please you to know that the Purple Pikmin are lodged safely in my hole. Nice. The confines of my interior seem to suit them perfectly, though they do occasionally tickle me. What the heck? Come on, shit. Stand in the ring light below and press A to call out the Purple Pikmin. Alright, and Olimar instructs us on how to do that. So of course, unlike the red Pikmin, the purple Pikmin are going to be housed in the ship. They don't have a proper onion because, of course, since we collected them underground, there is no way to really house them like how the red Pikmin are. So they have a proper home in the ship. So what we're going to be doing now in today's episode is at least trying to get enough of the Awakening Wood. Okay, good. I was about to. Okay, good. Louis, has Olimar instructed you on the peculiarities of the Pikmin creatures? The Pikmin form groups based on colors when disbanded with X. And grabbing a Pikmin with A will also cause them to group by color. Now for the bonus lesson. After grabbing a Pikmin with A, you can press the left or right on the D-pad to swap it for another color. This is the first time you've heard of this, Olimar? Remember to properly train new employees. So something we couldn't do in Pikmin 1 is group the Pikmin when you're holding onto them. So that was kind of the annoying thing for those who have played the original, that you kind of had to maneuver Olimar in a way to you had to collect them to kind of throw them at them. But this is where I'll go ahead and ignore that guy in a second. I just want to start making my way over. Because what I do plan on doing in today's episode is to go ahead and start... Okay, get rid of these guys. These are the female Shear Grubs. We've seen some of these enemies. A lot of the enemies we've seen already. And some of the ones we will see are going to be familiar faces, but over there is something we haven't quite seen yet, but we have seen this bridge. If you can remember this layout, a little bit of this layout is going to be what we've seen similarly back at the Forest of Hope when we first crash landed here in the original game. So this hut right here and a little bit out is supposed to be what resembles this landing site for Olimar with his dolphin and where the onions were situated. But now the landing site for us is over there, and you can see a lot of familiar landmarks. If you're able to pull up the Pikmin 1 layout map for the Forest of Hope, you can kind of see there's many similarities. And like I said, you'll see a lot of that throughout the game. One thing I do want to do though is start making my way over, because there is, probably you guys can see it on the distance in the far left, there is another dungeon or cave. I'm going to be mix and matching that word a lot as the series goes on, don't be surprised. I do want to go there because that is going to be a great location to go ahead and start getting more treasure. There is a good amount to do here with the red and purple Pikmin, but we are limited by certain things, one of them being Pikmin. So I just want to go ahead and grab that done. And there's also this quote-unquote enemy. Oh, it's gone, it disappeared. I'm going to grab some Pikmin here. Can it spawn again? Yes. It is this thing. Alright. No. And of course, you're familiar with that. It is Nectar. Nectar is, of course, the supplements that Pikmin consume. It immediately rose into Flower Pikmin. The Pikmin that drank the yellow nectar instantly matured into Flower Pikmin. It appears to have enhanced motor skills. What a wondrous nectar. How intriguing. Like plants, Pikmin mature from leaf to bud to flower. Oh, Captain Olimar, you must share the information you have with Louis, your subordinate. Alright. And of course, kind of like in the first game, having Flower Pikmin helps a lot with their speed and to a certain extent their power. But one thing I do want to go ahead and do right now is go ahead and attack the red Bulborb. So unlike in the original, and of course the first time that you saw me battle it without purples, this does make it a lot easier. If I just have these 10, you can see how powerful and how quickly this will get knocked out. That was almost no joke. Alright, let me go ahead and just grab this. It is a treasure, so I'll go ahead. Purple Pikmin had also the ability to stun enemies when thrown on them. It is more noticeable on bigger enemies like Bulborbs and other relatively big enemies that we'll see throughout the series. Little ones, they pretty much get instant killed, kind of like when you surprise them with regular Pikmin, so it's no big difference there. But regardless, when it gets bigger enemies, that's when Purple Pikmin have the greatest advantage and that you certainly want to take care of. I will admit that does make the game a little bit easier, and of course veterans of the game will know that especially true. But first, before I go on any further, we've collected our first treasure at the Awakening Wood. It is a strawberry named the Sunseed Berry, worth 170 Pokos. Quite nice. We're already near the 1000% mark. Or the 1000 Poke mark, near the 10% mark. I'm just gonna continue plucking them. I don't want to bring this many reds. I really don't need that many, honestly. I just want to pluck these few and then send them back. I'll put 20 away. And of course it had to be the flower ones. Or a majority of the flower ones. Okay. I'm just gonna start making my way over here. You're probably curious as to what these red berries are, and I'll go ahead and actually start grabbing some right now. How many? Do I have enough purples? Hopefully I should. So right over here, I forget. I think these are the burrowing burrowing somethings. They burrow underground and then, with their long, extensive tongue, they will actually grapple Pikmin. But if you knock them out quickly, they shouldn't be any worry to you. Alright, and these are okay. So these berries are actually a new introduction to the Pikmin series. Before, in the original Pikmin, we never saw anything like this, so there is really nothing to really go by. But the ship will give us a detailed explanation as to what this is in a second. It's just a red berry. Astounding. This red berry contains an ultra spicy essence. It does not appear to have any monetary value, but I shall research potential uses for it. Bring me another specimen. Alright, we'll do that. Alright, so just bringing one is not enough, as the ship had said. It does have some bitter spray essence, so that will mean something once we collect a certain amount, and that certain amount, once this last one is brought, is going to be... After bringing all 10, it has become a juice. Or a spray, properly known. Captain Olimar, my research on the red berries you discovered has yielded a powerful potion. Behold, the ultra spicy spray. Although it is untested, I believe it'll have spectacular results. Spray it on all your Pikmin by pressing down on the D-pad. When necessary, I can produce 1 bottle of spray from 10 berries. Press start, pause to contact me on confirm your berry count, and look at L on the radar screen. Alright, so of course the Ultra Spicy Spray is a new introduction to the Pikmin series. I will explain it when I actually use it, so for now I'll leave it a surprise for those who aren't familiar. You can actually collect a lot more, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. Ultra Spicy Sprays are very useful, but I'll explain them when I actually use it, probably a little bit later in the series. But it is time for another enemy introduction. So you have seen all these flowers scattered around the Awakening Wood, nothing unusual here. But there is one right over here that does catch the eye, and literally there is an eye on it if you can see it. These are the creeping chrysanthemums. If I just put one Pikmin there, it will be surprising and burrow out. Use your purple Pikmin, try to stun it as effectively as you can, and defeat it. Yes, these creeping chrysanthemums. Oh wait, do I have enough Pikmin for this one? Let me make sure. 200, no, I only have, okay, so never mind, I forgot. Chronologically, we can't go there. Our next destination is to head over here. Just be careful of those creeping chrysanthemums. They are pretty distinguishable because they have eyes, so you can't obviously, you can kind of see them when you spot them from far away. But what we're gonna do is, since we're kind of limited in pathways, we can't access this area because there is some poison covering it, and we see another globe. That will pretty much hint that that's a very serious treasure, but we are limited to access. We do, however, have access to a new dungeon, or cave. See, I'm just gonna keep saying everything over and over again because I don't know how to say the proper one. Biological sensors are reacting violently. Their readings are ominous. A beast of unknown power lurks in these depths. A large Pikmin group will be reassuring. My second sensors are picking up hostile roars of many beasts. Expect dangerous encounters. Sensors are also showing extreme heat pockets. You may need flame-resistant Pikmin. But my records indicate no such data. Are my records incomplete? I mean, flame, fire, red. I think that's enough. Alright, so we are going to be going ahead and exploring the next dungeon, which is going to be the Hole of Beasts. That is quite a scary name compared to the Emergence Cave. So as we can see, there is fire elements that we're going to be seeing here. Our fire Pikmin will be fine. And with the 70 Pikmin we have, we should be good. This also gives me a good opportunity to bring up the pause menu since we can talk about this a little bit. I did kind of bring this up already on our first day, but I never really explained in great detail everything that we have to see here. So basically, the first page of the radar is going to be similar to the original. It does tell you the onion, meaning how many Pikmin are in the onion. The rocket, of course, meaning how many purple Pikmin are there, since there are Pikmin specific to the rocket and the onion. And the leader, basically meaning how many Pikmin are in your possession. Oh, they're free. Why do I have some... What? Is my game glitching? It says there's 5, but... What? Oh, okay, I'm being very stupid. Okay, ignore the 5. You do see a blue onion there, but that is for blue Pikmin. For those who might have already picked up the images right there, for those who probably already knew. But we can't access that area yet. There's still many things we have to do before we can even access that, so we'll leave that aside. Hypothetically, the 5 is correct because there are Pikmin over there, but in our control there is 0, so that should be a 0, technically speaking. But moving on, since we actually saw that, if you head over to the menu, you can go over to sunset right away, similar to the original. You can end it early. Very few instances where you will probably want to. It's very rare you'll do that in the very early parts of the game, but towards the end it does tend to be a bit more common, and also tells you how much money that you collected so far. And the last tab will be, of course, the items, the exploration kit, something I haven't touched on yet that we could have done in the last episode, but kind of like what the ship was explaining about the ultra spicy spray. You can access the amounts that you collected so far and the sprays you have on there. And the exploration kit is, of course, a list of all key items or key treasures that you can collect throughout your adventure. And as you see on the bottom left, the first one, the sphere chart, was the very first one. There is also another one resembling on the bottom, the other half, most likely meaning we will be accessing another location soon. And there's a bunch of other items that will help throughout either our journey or will help out our captains or our Pikmin in an immense way. But many of those treasures are still going to be scattered out throughout the planet, and we will be encountering them little by little as the adventure goes on. We will see how helpful each one of them will be and how minor or major their significance will play on our adventure or in total throughout the game. So that is really it throughout the pause menu. Now that we have everything there, we can now go ahead and start really exploring. Alright, I'm going to do one more thing. So while I go ahead and do this one last thing before we start heading for exploration, I will go ahead and kind of talk and say that since this isn't like Pikmin 1 where I was able to kind of scatter the days a little bit more effectively, and by more effectively I mean we do have a time limit as you see there, kind of like in the first one. Since caves do play a big role in this game, the thing I'm going to go ahead and do for that is if anytime a cave is relatively long in length or does take up a majority of the episode, I will go ahead and try to break it up as well as I can to where we can space up enough action for that cave and then kind of split off the rest for a separate episode and leading up to the end of the day kind of segments. So I will say, not unlike the first one, every day won't be a pretty extensive episode. I'll just try my best to kind of, space it out to where I can get it enough even shots. Again, this Purple Pikmin are great, but they are very slow. I will say that. I'm gonna go ahead and mess with the weed and try to see if I can get more nectar. If not, whatever. No? Okay. This is taking quite a while. I'm not really wasting too much daylight, but I do kind of want to get some of this done. Okay. Alright, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough, red Pikmin. That's enough. Okay. Okay, so we only have a few leaf Pikmin. That's not a big deal. Majority are going to be flowers. As you can see, the reds are really winning that race, and then the purples are still lacking behind regardless of their flower status. And then the one purple Pikmin that's a leaf is just going to struggle behind the rest. It is going to be, their mobility is a bit obviously better in Pikmin 1. Their chances of falling is pretty much negligible now because that's been taken away due to really the frustration many people got from it. But regardless of that, we will now commence entering the Hole of Beasts. This is going to be a significantly different jump compared to the first cave, since it was more a tutorial. But this one will have a bit more things to talk about, but we're still not going to be seeing everything that this cave has to offer like every other cave we'll see throughout our journey so far. But I'll explain those as we go on. But the Hole of Beasts will introduce a couple more things that we haven't seen throughout our adventure yet. So the Hole of Beasts sub-level 1. Let's begin. Alright. So there are a bit more nooks and crannies over here. You just gotta be careful. Since this is still the beginning of the game, a lot of these portions are still gonna be relatively empty or quiet. So there isn't too much to really be careful of. Yeah, there's really nothing there. This will be a different story once we hit the later parts of the story, where that won't always be the case. Alright, and here we are, the male Shear Grubs. Oh, damn, that was instant. Alright, so similar to the first game, we see male and female Shear Grubs. The male ones are still the ones to watch out for, and the female ones are still ones you can kind of ignore. The beautiful thing I love that they did in this game is that they corrected one of the most broken mechanics I've seen for snitch bugs. Shear Grubs, I mean, not snitch bugs. We'll see those later. If you recall, in the original, the Shear Grubs, they were somewhat broken in that you can't charge them. You can't just charge your Pikmin onto them, because if they did snatch a Pikmin, regardless if you defeated it in time or not, it was an instant kill, and that was super annoying. Like, it was very broken. You were almost guaranteed to lose a Pikmin that way, and your best bet was just to throw them onto them. And a lot of people just didn't like that. I didn't like that myself. If you happen to see like 5 or so, you're almost guaranteed to lose all 5, whether you timed it good or not. Alright, so we took care of really all the enemies here, so let's just go ahead and grab the treasure. This is honestly the only treasure here. Pretty much majority of the caves will have at least minimum of 1, maybe 2. You will definitely see that in the beginning parts of the dungeons and caves as you explore, but as we get to the more progressively difficult ones, that may significantly jump up to around anywhere from 3 to 5, depending on the cave and depending on the sub-level. So of course the game is just easing us into the idea how caves and dungeons will work. So far so good. Everything's not going to be that difficult for us, but a little bit later, don't be surprised if I get some anger coming out. But we do collect what is pretty much a D-pad, similar to the D-pads that you will see on controllers. This is the Stone of Glory, 100 Pokos. Alright, perfect. And if you hear that, that sound will indicate that there is no treasure. I already did mention it in our first episode, or the first cave that we explored in the last episode. There is an item that will help us out in determining that a lot better than having to hear out for a sound cue, but I'll explain that when we get to it because I don't want to always spoil everything. And also note, if you do open up the menu, unlike when you're in the overworld, you can see dungeons. However, you can only see a portion of what you actually traveled. So of course, this part we didn't actually travel and touch. There is nothing over here. There is no enemies. There's really nothing. But at least you get the satisfaction and safe peace of mind that you did explore every area. Okay, so now that we have our first sub-level done, we can go ahead on to the next one. I can actually get there. Okay. Alright, oh, and one thing I probably already mentioned but want to just make sure and reassure is even if you didn't have all 70 or however many Pikmin you brought over, say if you have one following you and the rest are just scattered by themselves, they will still follow you to the next sub-level regardless. You will never lose Pikmin, that way. Alright. The second sub-level should be a bit safer if memory recalls. I do have some good memory on how some of these sub-levels are, but some of them I do not remember too intensely on. There are eggs here, and eggs, I'll break those in a second, but what we see over here is some violet candy pop buds. So what I'm going to do is, of course, bring my red Pikmin, and we're going to be adding our purple Pikmin numbers. So something I probably already kind of elaborated a little bit on is that since purple Pikmin can only be found in dungeons, you can't legitimately grow them above the surface. So in any time you see candy, violet candy pop goods, it is in your best interest to increase your purple Pikmin numbers, because if you do happen to lose any, there is no great way of getting them back. So just keep that in mind. It is a good way to make sure that you have high purple Pikmin numbers. We have 20 so far. That's the max you can get as of this time. And it's always just best to have as many as you can, because if you do happen to lose them, they are good Pikmin to have. You just want to be careful of that. In fact, I don't think there's actually any treasure here, so I think what we're gonna do is just increase the okay, they're just gonna stick at her over there. I will say we are somewhat short on time. Come on. Alright. Okay. So I am gonna go ahead and call it a day for today's episode. I do, like I promised in the last one, I do want to always aim for the 20-minute mark, just to keep things a little bit on the okay side on my end. But I will say that it might not always work out that way just because of how dungeons work. But how this will work, we still have a few more sub-levels left to go and a little bit left of the remaining half of the day. So I think this will be a good stopping point for us right here. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Do hope you enjoyed. So far, we have entered the Awakening Wood. We did discovered just a few pieces of treasure, and of course we discovered the new cave. Yeah, see, I can't speak, guys. I really just can't. We discovered the new cave, and that is going to be the Hole of Beasts. We haven't really seen any beasts yet, but of course there's still a lot more levels to go, so there's no shock that we will be seeing a lot more. But in the next episode, guys, we'll be going ahead and entering, well, actually I'll go ahead. We will be going ahead and entering sub-level 3. That is going to be our next spot. And that is going to be where we'll be seeing a lot more Pikmin. We're going to be seeing a lot more to deal with. So guys, this has been your boy Ron. And until next time, I'll meet you guys back here at the Hole of Beast for sub-level 3 to see what is remaining here. And hopefully finish up in a successful manner. I will see you guys then. Take care.